It's time for another Dice Tower review with Tim Jennette.
Hey everyone, this is Tim Jennette, the Metal Meeple, and in this video we're taking a look at a game called Jitters. This game was published in 1986 by Milton Bradley. The designer is uncredited. It's a small little dice game for as many players as you want to play with. It really does say one or more. It takes about 30 minutes at least, and then you can add that on for every player that you add. But basically, one player at a time is going to take all these dice. They're going to flip over a card, and it's like a crossword puzzle kind of, so some of the letters intersect, they're just blank spaces. You roll all these dice, and you got 1 minute to try to complete as many of these cards as you can. And once you complete a card, you can choose to go on to the next one, or you can stop the timer and score points. Unfortunately, if you don't stop the timer in time, though, and you're working on a card, you're actually going to lose all your points. So let me show you what it comes with, how the game plays. We'll come back and I'll tell you what I think. So here we have the components to Jitters. We have a 1 minute timer. We have a bunch of 12 dice with letters on them. We have a deck of cards here that has red dots. Each one is for a die. And you're trying to complete these during your turn. They range from 10 to 25 points in increments of 5. There's a bunch of them here. And we have a cup that we pretty much never use. So on a player's turn, they're going to start the timer, they're going to roll the dice, and they're going to flip the top card up over here and try to complete that card. There are two things that you can do. One, you can always choose to re-roll the dice. However, you must re-roll the dice that are on this card. So say we flip this out and we had, this word down here spelled, that's not a word, but, and you can't spell this other word up here with what you have. You can always grab all the dice and re-roll them. The second thing you got is a Sideswipe. A Sideswipe can happen after each time you roll the dice. And basically what you're going to do is look at the sides of the dice and say you needed say you didn't have these A's and you needed an A, well, you can flip this one over to an A and use it. Now, you cannot use the bottom of dice, so you can't just flip it all the way over to the bottom. I guess that's just to encourage not moving the dice around and keeping what you had and being fair. So, you're going to try to complete as many as you can. Once you complete a card, and no one's challenged you, which we'll talk about later, you swipe off all the dice and you put it to the side, and you're going to flip over the new card. Now there is one thing that's a press your luck style game here, and if the timer completes without you actually stopping it, then you lose all your points of all the cards, including the ones that you have completed for that round. Now if you basically complete a card and you decide not to flip over another card and stop it manually before it goes out, then you end your round and you're going to gain points equal to all the completed cards you have done. So let's try this out and see how it goes. So you can see how loud this timer is. We got that going. We're gonna roll these dice. It's hard to do with one hand off the screen. So we've got, let's try to do make. And can we do ear? I am not very good at this game, by the way. So in this case, I can't see that I have anything on the sides here. So let's just re-roll, and then you can scrutinize me in the comments. All right, we have gold, and we don't have many vowels here, so we can use a Sideswipe by doing let's see, flip this over to an A, and we'll do dab. All right. Whatever. Anyway, we complete a card, so I see that I don't have a lot of time left, so I could stop it, but why not? Let's just go on to the next card. Ooh. And then we roll the dice again. So we need some, I'm going to re-roll that. I do not like that at all. We've got Merry Christmas. We'll sideswipe that to an E for Ode and me. So I stop it, we're good. Ho, Ode, and me. So put it off to the side, and I'm going to score 25 points. Now at that point, it would be the end of my turn, and then we would pass all this stuff off to the next player who would go. And then basically the rules say you play to 250 points, and once somebody breaks that threshold, you play to the end of the round, so everybody has an even amount of turns, and whoever has the most points wins. Now, the last thing you can do is challenge someone. If they have dice on here, and before they wipe them off or anything, you can, I'm just going to put dice here, but you can challenge and be like, that's not a word. Then we manually stop the timer, and then everybody will look it up in the dictionary or online or whatever you use. It's pretty much all Scrabble style words. You can't use like proper nouns and things like that or hyphenated words. And then basically, if the challenger, so if another person challenged me and got it right, my turn immediately ends and I get 0 points for that round. Otherwise, that player loses their next turn. So basically, somebody is getting 0 points that round. Anyway, that's it. So you keep going, and then once somebody breaks 250 points, you see who wins basically at the end of the round. So there's a reason this game is called Jitters. I mean, if you play with people who get stressed out, this is a game they're going to get stressed in. The timer, which is awesome because it's loud, sounds like a time bomb going off, that really gets to people. I mean, they're like, it's sitting there making all that noise and stuff, and you're like, the first time you play it, you're like, this shouldn't be that hard. I test played it a couple times or whatever before we actually played it a bunch, and it was just like, you hit that timer and you're like, and you can't think, and like your brain's getting clouded. It's a really cool addition. I couldn't see actually using an app for this unless it made noise. I think the noise does add a lot to the game. There is a lot of downtime to the game, obviously, with games like this. Some other dice games, such as like Zombie Dice and stuff, where one player is the focal point. I mean, no one else can do anything. You can't strategize. There's nothing for you to do when it's not your turn. So with that being said, I kind of recommend this more for like a 3 to 4 player, maybe 5 if you have a 5th, but anything past that, I mean, there's so many other games out there that you can play instead of this that, everybody's involved every round and stuff like that. So downtime is a huge concern if you're playing with a large group. The card balance with some of those cards, you would think that maybe the ones that make up square, where you got like 3 letters, 3 letters, 3 letters, 3 letters, those are actually easier to complete than like a long 6-letter word, and I'm pretty sure they're either similar points or real close to the points, but say you take all the 25 points, which is the highest scoring ones, some of them seem easier than others, so we kind of got a house rule where when you flip over the first card, you can burn it, and then flip over another one, and then you start your turn, but you can't do that on future cards. So that's just a little house rule. I think it kind of helps out a little bit, because you could still get, you could still flip over those harder ones on later cards, so you're not knocking out hard ones immediately. So anyway, that's just something we do. I really like the Sideswipe ability. I think that's really cool. I thought that before I read the rules in the beginning was you could roll the dice, and then maybe it's like a Yahtzee style thing, but the fact that you can roll them and then you can choose to Sideswipe one over, that's just really cool touch to me. I think that it adds one thing to your turn that you can do. For some reason, I really like that. But anyway, it's just a really fun game. It was a very good surprise. I picked this up at a thrift store rather inexpensively, and I don't think they printed it past 1986. I don't know. I didn't actually research that, but from what I saw just initially on Board Game Geek I think that's the only year they printed it. This would be a good game to bring back, and especially maybe in a smaller box because it is rather large for the components. But anyway, if it looks fun, try to track one down. I highly recommend it, especially if you like word games or dice games. I mean, that just fits the bill right there. So if you have any questions, feel free to comment down below or email me at timjennette@gmail.com. Follow me on social media at the handle below. And until next time, keep on rocking, rolling dice.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.